Qween.
So when you go on to a show like RuPaul's Drag Race, or I'm sure any reality competition,
But especially RuPaul's
Drag Race, where our fan base is so, I don't want to call them rabid. They're not rabid. They're not a pack of dogs. They are intense.
Yeah.
They are really, really invested. And they will dissect every single little thing that happens and gets said, which I'm sure we'll talk about some of those things
we
in a
will.
little bit. But they will dissect it until you're like, oh my God, you have a 5-page, like, dossier, a whole breakdown of every single thing that I've ever said and the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, girl, I didn't put that much thought into it. Why are you?
Yeah.
Like, it happened in the moment. It came out of my mouth and we all moved on. Well, sometimes we put a behind it.
Right, that's the difference.
But eventually we all move on. And when season 7 was airing, you know, it's television. I'm not gonna say that I was edited unfairly. Everything that I said, I certainly said.
Yeah.
Maybe not completely in the context that it was shown, or maybe you didn't get to see like the 3 hours leading up to me going, you wear the same wig every week. Like, so sometimes, of course, yeah, I'm gonna come off looking crazy. And sometimes I was just fucking crazy. Because they don't tell you, you're gonna be working 18 hours a day, 6 days a week. You're gonna eat maybe once a day. I mean, they feed you, they provide food, but you're like, I'm corseted, or I'm taped, or I'm nervous. I'm not gonna go in there and start eating. And that was Willem's problem on season 4. That's why she threw up. It was the one day she corseted and she ate something, and it just couldn't process.
Wow.
And it's hot, and they don't, like, you just are not ready for all of these things. And especially when they announce you, they don't warn you about what is about to happen in your life.
Right.
When they turn you over to the world. So Katya, I had flown her down and she was staying with me, and we were just kind of waiting for it to happen. We were driving in the car, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up because I was the first one that they announced on television, like in that succession. And then her phone starts blowing up, and we're like, this is so exciting, this is amazing, it's gonna change our life forever. And it did change our lives forever, but nobody tells you that everybody is going to pull apart. Like, you could put your eyelash all the way up, or you could put it on an angle, and there's gonna be 5,000 different opinions about why you do that and if you should.
Yeah.
And we were not ready for what happened. Like, especially like me, I know I'm fat. I own a mirror. I've always been fat. I was very thin up until I was 14 years old. And I had a bowel obstruction, and they had to go in and cut my intestines apart and fuse them back together and all this kind of stuff. And I started gaining weight rapidly. So from the time I was 15, my entire adult life, I have been plus size. I've been an extra large entertainer, and it never held me back, but I never saw it as an advantage, but I never saw it as a disadvantage until Drag Race, when one person, this is the one that I will always remember. One of the very first messages I ever got was, "You fat whore. I hope you sit in the corner, twiddle your thumbs, and play nice with everybody until you get eliminated, which will hopefully be very soon." They had just announced the cast.
Oh my God.
We hadn't done anything at that point. Nobody had seen any footage, but all of a sudden, because I was large, I was supposed to sit in the background and play nice with people and coddle them until I went home because I was supposed to. And coming from a very small town, I had been doing drag for a very long time at that point, but I hadn't experienced that.
Yeah.
And then Katya was getting all of this, oh, it's just a budget Willem, it's a budget Willem. And we're both sitting there going, she's nothing like Willem. We love Willem, we're fans of Willem, but she literally is nothing like Willem. But she was getting nothing but hate. And then I started getting death threats. I started getting death threats every single day, and I still, you know.
Before the show even aired?
Before the show even aired.
Wow.
And then when the show started to air, and they saw that I didn't hold my tongue, that I didn't sit in the background and just take it, they had a problem with that. And there were times where I watched it and went, bitch, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I bet.
Sit down and stop being a bitch. But I also remembered in my head, like, oh no, there was 2 hours of this person saying this to you.
Yeah.
That led up to that. And while I can try to take that and process it and whatever, it was very hurtful for a long time. And then we got to the season 7 finale, like the week of the season 7 finale, and my grandfather who raised me, who was my father when I didn't really have one, he passed away.
Wow.
The last thing that he watched was me eliminating Trixie from drag. Like that was the. Like, so here's the story about that. You can edit all this shit out later.
Tell me everything.
I am running off at the mouth, but it's been so long.
That's what you're here for.
It's been so long, and I like. My grandfather was born and raised at the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia, and his family actually owned the land the Swamp Thing, the original Swamp Thing, was filmed on. And they didn't get much money from it, of course, but he's the one that took his portion of that money and tried to make a better life for himself. He's always been a very upstanding, wonderful man who just loved people. When he was 14 years old, he was working for this man who had become his best friend. He was an older man. He was probably like, if he was 14, then the man was probably about 35 or so. And I don't mean to say older man, because
thank you.
I'm right there with you at this point. But this man that was certainly twice his age, they moved plate glass. They installed windows and they did that kind of thing. And one day, this giant pane of glass shattered and killed this man. So my grandfather, out of loyalty and respect, at 14 years old, married this man's widow, who was twice his age, and raised those children as if they were his own.
Wow.
And then, he's not my biological grandfather, but he's the only grandfather I ever knew. My grandmother's not that widow. After that ended, he met my grandmother, who had experienced the loss of my biological grandfather. And they married when my mom and my uncles and aunts were still very, very young. But he raised them as his own as well. And he was just the most kind, loving, giving man I've ever met. But he was also from the Okefenokee Swamp from a certain time, you know? So the gay lifestyle was very taboo to him. He didn't understand it. And then when you add drag on top of it, he really felt like it was something completely out of his realm that he wasn't supposed to get, and he wasn't supposed to appreciate it. So when I was announced to be on the show, he refused to watch it. Well, at least put up the front of
that he wasn't going to watch it.
I refuse to watch this. And it wasn't until after he passed away that my mom told me he had gone down the week before it premiered and added DVR to their package.
Wow.
Which nobody in Leesburg does DVR.
Right.
But he's paid that $6 a month, and he added the DVR, and he would secretly record it. And then after my mom and my sister and then like everybody, my grandmother, they'd all watch it and they'd go to bed. He'd get up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and put it on.
Wow.
And my grandmother was telling me that the week that he passed away, she had gotten up at like 4 in the morning, and she walked out. She heard noise. She heard the television, and she walked out and she looked around the corner, and Ru had just announced me lip syncing against Trixie, and she said, "I'll never forget that your grandfather sat there." And he said, "Beat her ass, baby. Send her home. Send that bitch home because you deserve this." And that's the last memory that I have of my grandfather. It was like maybe like a week later, 2 weeks later. It was the week after that. We were getting ready to film the season 7 finale, which, you know, it films 2 weeks before it airs.
Yeah.
And I was working nonstop. It's what I've worked my entire life for, you know, to have this kind of schedule and these opportunities. And I was in Detroit, Michigan, and I had this dream about my grandfather. And I woke up to my phone ringing, and I saw that it was my mom. And I answered it, and I said, "He's gone, isn't he?" And she lost it, and she broke down, and she said, "How did you know?" And I told her it was because, he came to me in the dream, and he told me that he was proud of me. God, you're like Oprah. And I asked my mother, I said, "Did this just happen suddenly?" And she said, "No, he's been really sick for a while." And I said, "Well, why didn't anybody tell me?" And she said, "Because he's the one that said, you've worked your entire life for this, so he didn't want to be a distraction. He didn't want to pull you back from from the blessings that you were suddenly receiving for all of your hard work." And I was grateful for that, but I was so hurt by it at the same time, because I would have dropped everything to go right down there and be by his side. And he was my father. And then I made time in my schedule, and I came back for the funeral. And when I got to the funeral in Little Leesburg, Florida, there was a line all the way out this is for the viewing, a line all the way out the door, that wrapped all the way down the block. And I looked at my mom and I said, "I don't know who any of these fucking people are. Who are these fucking people?" And she said, "Those are your fans."
Wow.
And my heart just exploded. She said, "Come here, come with me." And she took me to the book. And she showed me the book, and every single message, page after page after page, were just these people saying, You've helped me in this way, you've helped me in that way, you've made me see that this has happened for me, and I can have this, and I can be happy, and I'm a good person, and I don't deserve to die. Like, page after page, it said all of these wonderful things, and it said, if I can get that from you, I want to give back however I can, and the only way that I can show my respect is to come here. People had driven hours and hours and hours and sent tons and tons of flowers, and it was the most, humbling and amazing moment of my life was to see that. It was hard, too, of course,
I
but
bet.
it kind of put everything into its own neat little, envelope. It's like, okay, you can seal this because it has purpose and it has meaning and it has a happy ending after all the bullshit.
Yeah.
Why were we talking about this?
Well, we were talking about, let's get a tissue for Miss Minj, please.
I usually keep them in my bra.
Well, I mean, you were talking about how difficult it can be, with all the stress. So you went back from this funeral of the man who was a father to you, and then you had to do the finale of Drag Race.
Yeah. Well, so we're there, and we had just put my grandfather in the ground.
Right.
Oh, hold on. I need a
Have a sip,
sip
sweetie.
of the recipe, girl.
Delicious.
Just a little grape juice. Get the morning started. So we had just put my grandfather in the ground, and 4 days later, I'm in Los Angeles.
Must be very surreal.
Yeah.
To have to go from those two things and then have your worlds collide with the fans, the funeral.
Well, and not to mention, my mom and my sister had never been out of Lake County, Florida.
Really?
I flew them to the finale, to Los Angeles for the finale. And I just felt like it would be a good bonding and healing moment for all of us. We could be together. We could kind of work through this in a happy way.
Yeah.
And we were at rehearsal for the finale when they aired the top 4 episode, where it goes down to the top 3. And I had sent my mom and my sister to Theron Smothers, who is, he works for World of Wonder.
Yes.
His husband used to own a restaurant where they did Drag Race viewing parties.
Okay.
I love Theron. Theron's one of my favorite people in the world. And I knew that my mom and my sister would be safe and taken care of if I put them in an Uber and sent them over there. It didn't dawn on me. I didn't remember that when I was doing the Tic Tac lunch with Ru, that all of this drama and trauma and all this mess with my father would come up. I had blocked that emotionally.
Wow.
And there's my mom in a crowd of people she's never met before.
Oh.
In a place she's never been, because she's never been out of Lake County, Florida, having to face dealing with my emotions about my father and my childhood. And
while everybody else is just like, yeah,
everybody's
yeah,
oh, emotional porn,
God.
we love it.
Right.
And my mom called me, and I still have this voicemail, just sobbing and going, I'm sorry I couldn't have done more.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no. Like, you saved me when I was young. Like, you are still like everything to me. If there is a best friend, no, it's not Katya. It's my mother. It is my mother, because she's always been in my corner. She's always been there. There was a lot of things that came to light because of the show. A lot of people say, oh my God, you must be so bitter. You must be so angry. You got so close to winning. A lot of people thought you were gonna win, and you didn't win. And then you went on All Stars, and it's like playing the gayest game of Where's Waldo to find you in it. And I'm like, I'm not mad at all. This is an opportunity that a lot of people would kill to have.
Yeah.
And it kind of fell into my lap. I never intended to be a part of this. I loved it and I was a fan, but I was like, that's kind of above and beyond what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be happy with my pageants and my work and my hamburger Marys, you know? I'm gonna be good, gal. But it fell into my lap, and it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. And it has not only changed my life, it has made it better. It gave me a relationship with my father and both of my brothers, whom I hadn't seen or spoken to in almost 2 decades. And it gave my mom, my sister, and myself, and my grandmother, a coping mechanism while we were dealing with everything going on with my grandfather. It gave us something to divert our attention and something positive to focus on.
Yes, you were becoming world famous.
Yeah,
something
exactly.
to help divert from tragedy.
Mom paid off her car and got her teeth fixed. She was happy.
Yeah.
And I was happy that I was finally able to give back to this woman who had given me everything, you know, and had always been the one that was in my corner. And I have no hard feelings against World of Wonder or Logo or Drag Race or VH1 or anybody. Like, I have gotten so many positive, wonderful things out of this that never would have come my way. I never would have gotten out of a toxic 11-year relationship if I didn't have that distance. Because
you were still dating this guy when Drag Race, when you went away to
when
Drag
I
Race?
was filming Drag Race, and
11 years is nothing to sneeze at, honey.
No.
That's hard to break up with at any point.
Can I get another Pinot Gris?
Yes,
Somebody pass the Gris, Reese.
Let's loosen this bitch up, because we are 2 years waiting for you, honey. We're gonna get into all this.
That's fine. You could do a supersized edition for a supersized
we're doing
gal.
triple supersized.
I've gotten a lot of hate about ending my previous relationship.
You did? I
did. And a lot of people don't realize that relationship ended way before the season started, before season 7 started airing. It ended not too long after I got back from filming, and they want to say, you're so ungrateful and you're a horrible person. You would break up with this man that stood behind you for 11 years to go off and be with somebody younger and this and that. One has nothing to do with the other. I'm gonna say that right now. One has nothing to do with the other. It was a toxic relationship for pretty much all of the 11 years. I have nothing bad to say about that man. None. I have no hard feelings. I don't hate him, but we're not good together. Sometimes people just bring out the worst in each other, and that's what we did for a very long time. And it became abusive emotionally on both ends. And I wanted him, because I cared about him, and I still do care about him and hope he's doing very well, I wanted him to be able to find happiness. And I knew that, especially with everything that I was going through and everything that was about to happen, or what I thought was about to happen, even though I didn't know what was about to happen, I thought that he would have a better chance at being an emotionally stable, sane, happy person without having that burden added to him. And I also did not want to worry about this relationship that had been failing for a very long time, trying to fix it while I was gone, trying to fix it when I was away. And it wasn't until I went and filmed Drag Race, and they lock you into those hotel rooms.
Right, a lot of time to think.
Take the doors, they take your phone, they take everything away from you. All of your contact to the outside world is cut off. And so all you have time to do is reflect on your life. And I realized, as much as I did care about him, and I still do, it wasn't healthy for either of us. And so I knew what I had to do, and I had to end it. And we discussed, we were very amicable when it first happened. We had discussed not really going public with it and just kind of letting it play out on its own and letting it be a personal thing, because it was a personal thing.
Mm-hmm. And did that change?
It changed because he found out that I was dating Christopher, who's my fiance, Knowles.
Right.
A lot of people think that I left one for the other. I didn't. There was almost a year-long span between the two, and I didn't date anybody in between. I didn't do anything in between. I was too focused on my career. And all these amazing, like, crazy opportunities that were suddenly happening to me, that was my relationship. My relationship was with the public. And Christopher and I, when we first met, we were just theme park buddies. He's a theme park junkie, I'm a theme park junkie. We were going and riding roller coasters and watching shows and all that. We were just friends. And one day it developed into something more.
You fucked him in the Haunted Mansion?
Stop it. I'm a total bottom. Total bottom. But it's something that kind of developed on its own that had nothing to do with anything else in the world. I wasn't looking to get into any kind of relationship because I was gone so much. And it turns out that he brings out the best in me.
Yeah.
And he makes me want to be a better person. And he makes me kind of realize that I'm not as bad as some people try to make me out to be or try to make me feel. He always lifts me up and is my biggest champion and is my greatest asset in the world. And that's what I hope for my ex. I hope that he finds that because he deserves it. But it wasn't gonna happen with me because we were literally like this every single day.
Honey, you had quite a year. This 1 year when you went on Drag Race, there was deaths in the family, breakup in an 11-year relationship. You went right into Drag Race, and you came off of Drag Race, and you went right into All Stars.
Right into All Stars. Well, and I think the question on everybody's mind is Katya really your BFF?
Okay, let's get into it because that has been a sticking point for you. It seems like it was your one plot point in all of fucking All Stars 2 was that you kept referring to Katya as your best friend, and Katya did not seem to.
P.S. It's like the same. It's the same clip that's playing over and over. The only airtime I got was calling Katya my BFF.
Wow.
And I want to set this straight right now because a lot of people take issue with that. First of all, why do you take issue with anybody being close to somebody else? I said that she was my BFF. I never said that I was hers. Yeah. I can't speak for her. She's her own person. Obviously, she operates on a completely different plane than the rest of us, and I love her for that. But when my grandfather passed away, when I lost RuPaul's Drag Race Season 7, when I had this relationship that had crumbled beneath me, and I was getting all of this hate from the world, and then had to turn around and go on All Stars, still reeling from the loss and the hate and everything. She was the only person that I had that I could talk to, that I could turn to, that would understand where I was coming from. I could talk to my mom about it until the cows came home, but my mom doesn't understand what it's like to be on a television show and to constantly be judged and to feel like you're less than or whatever. She doesn't get that aspect of it. And I had tried to hide a lot of my previous relationship from my mother because I didn't want her to worry about me. And Katya was really the only person that I could talk to that would give me real advice, that would kind of tell me, all right, well, maybe this isn't right for you, but this is, and maybe you should do this instead of that. Or, girl, I'm not gonna give you advice, I'm just gonna sit here and listen, just vent, just cry, just do whatever. When we first came off of season 7, well, not first, but when we were getting ready to announce the cast of season 7, Katya and I were both broke. You know, we were local cross-dressers.
Right.
And I had just a little bit more money than she did, not much, but just a little bit more. And we didn't want to go through that entire process of being revealed and being talked about and all that alone. She did not want to go through it alone. So I took the last bit of money I had and I paired it with the Southwest ticket voucher, and I flew her down to stay with me for like a week and a half. We didn't have an exact date of when they were going to announce it. And I flew her down and we did some shows together and we just hung out and we sat up until 4 in the morning talking about our hopes and our dreams and our problems. And we really bonded. I feel like I saw to the bottom of her soul, and she was the only person in the world that knew everything about me. So when we were going through all the entire season and the loss and everything, I felt like she was still the only person, more than my mom, more than anybody, that would understand everything about me. And she was.
Right.
So when I called her my BFF, I meant that. I still, from the bottom of my soul, at that moment in time, she was the only person that I could turn to. And I don't regret calling her my BFF. Do I ever think that I was hers? She's not that kind of person. She doesn't have one best friend. She operates on her own plane, and she likes a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't expect her to. We're not in a relationship. She don't have to be exclusive to me.
Were you hurt by the fact that she never came out to say anything about that?
No.
Okay.
No, I am not hurt by the fact that she never came out to say anything about it, because
There was a lot of talk and chatter.
there's
that,
a lot of talk.
Even on this show, I think. I don't really remember what she said.
The thing that upset me, and I watch every episode of the show. I love this show. I love you. I've been obsessed with you since soccer practice, the water polo team.
No, that was a long time ago.
I still quote you. Why are you so damn blurry? I still quote you on a daily basis because I love you and I love the show and I love everything that you stand for. And when I was watching it, and to see Trixie, who has always been very close to me, Trixie and I have always been friends, to see her come out and kind of make light of it, make a joke of it. I understand that's her personality, but the things that she said, that I was using Katya to try to stay in the competition for All Stars 2, it doesn't sit well with me because it's not true. And she knows that it's not true. So she was, I know we're all comedians and we love to make a joke, but sometimes a joke just is ill-timed or ill-informed, and I feel like that was really one of them. I don't love her any less because of it. I still adore her, everything about her. But in that moment in watching it, I was a little bit hurt by it because she knows better than anybody the shit that's kind of been heaped on me because I made the mistake of saying that I felt something so strong about one other person. Just because I consider Katya to be my best friend, or at least at that point, doesn't mean that it takes away from her friendship with Katya. But a lot of the fans feel like you can only be friends with one person, and that's not true. Like, we all love each other. We all get along. Even Violet and Pearl and I we really love each other. We've had moments and we go through shit,
right,
but that's what makes us appreciate each other at the end of the day. And so that did kind of hurt me. But we talked about it, and it's fine. Girl, it's water under the bridge, but...
Sure, you're all entertainers making very good livings, so everything's all easy to swipe away. Nobody's a loser in this
We're all
situation.
swiping left, girl. We're all swiping left.